Welcome to another segment of What the Heck is Going On? I am your host, Jeff LaFrance. This is a news brief. The U.S. Senate recently voted unanimously to adopt a resolution apologizing for slavery. Now, a well-known radio host, Roger Hitchcock, says Democrats should be made to pay reparations to blacks for slavery. Senator Tom Harkin of Iowa, lead sponsor of the resolution, said, "You wonder why we didn't do it 100 years ago. It is important to have a collective response to a collective injustice. Only after decades of public education, ignoring and distorting U.S. history, can such a huge lie be said with such a straight face." Roger Hitchcock went on to say, "Senator, you didn't do it 100 years ago because 100 years ago, Democrats were enforcing Jim Crow laws, poll taxes to keep blacks from voting, and riding around in sheets with pointy little hats just in case blacks didn't get the message. You say it's important to have a collective response because you want to bury the origins, purposes, and the historical practices of your own party. The worst part is Republicans in the Senate are letting you get away with it. Principled Republicans, knowing their history, would have authored a resolution reciting the facts that the Republican Party was formed, among other reasons, to oppose slavery, and that the Republican Party and its first president, Abraham Lincoln, responded to Southern Democrat-led secession with a successful war that preserved the Union and freed the slaves. After Lincoln's assassination by a Democrat, the Republican-led Congress, over the objections of the Democratic Party, amended the Constitution to confirm the liberation of the slaves, the 13th Amendment. And the 14th Amendment, freed slaves are citizens equal to all citizens, and the 15th Amendment, the right to vote. Southern Democrats spent the next 100 years trying to keep freed slaves down with segregation laws, poll taxes to deny the right to vote, and lynching to enforce the social order. The KKK was formed by a Democrat. No Republican has ever been a member of the KKK that we know of. This is the heritage of the Democratic Party. In fact, the Democratic Party was formed in the first place to defend and expand slavery. In 1840, the very first national nominating convention of the Democratic Party adopted a platform which read in part, "Resolved, that Congress has no power to interfere or control the domestic institutions of the several states, that all efforts by abolitionists made to induce Congress to interfere with questions of slavery are calculated to diminish the happiness of the people and endanger the stability and the permanency of the Union." Got that, Senator Harkin? Your party was born defending slavery as necessary for the happiness of the people and threatening secession and war if slavery were challenged. The same party platform language was used in 1844, 1848, 1852, 1856, and 1860. The Democrat commitment to slavery took a harsher tone. The Fugitive Slave Law was passed by Congress in 1850. This monstrous law provided that, since slaves were the personal property of their masters, runaway slaves must be returned to their owners. The law required that all law enforcement officers were to assist in the capture of any runaway slaves or risk a fine of $1,000, which is equal to almost $100,000 in today's dollars. The Republican Party was formed in the 1850s in part as a political reaction to this unjust law. In their National Convention of 1860, Democrats harshly responded to certain northern Republican states that were passing state laws to evade the Fugitive Slave Law by adopting a plank in the Democratic Party platform which read, "Resolved, that the enactments of the state legislatures to defeat the faithful execution of the Fugitive Slave Law are hostile in character, subversive of the Constitution, and revolutionary in their effect. Senator, your Democratic Party has much to be apologetic about in the slavery issue. During the Civil War, the Southern Democrats led the Confederacy out of the Union. Northern Democrats formed a separate party which opposed the war. The 1864 Northern Democratic Party platform adopted a peace plank which read in part, "After 4 years of failure to resolve the Union by the experiment of war, justice, humanity, liberty, and the public welfare demand a cessation of hostilities. To that end, peace may be restored." Here is the origin of today's Democratic Party. Peace at any price, better red than dead. Why can't we all just get along? Foreign policy. The war was started by Democratic secessionists, and just as President Lincoln was on the verge of victory, the Northern Democrats wanted to save the South and slavery with peace talks. Voters knew better, and in 1864 re-elected Lincoln. But the Democrats weren't through. In 1868, Senator Harkin's party demanded the Republican Party in its party platform as the Radical Party and condemned Reconstruction in these unforgettable words. Instead of restoring the Union, it, the Radical Party, has dissolved it and subjected 10 states, the former Confederated States, to military despotism and Negro supremacy. And Senator, don't tell me this is all ancient history in a lame attempt to evade the true origins of your own party. As recently as 1964, when the Senate debated the Civil Rights Act, Southern Democrats, including Al Gore's father, voted no. While Northern Democrats voted yes, their votes were not enough. The deciding votes to pass this landmark bill were provided by Republicans. Republicans should be proud of their heritage of liberation of the slaves and civil rights voting record. It's Harkin and the Democrats who should be apologizing and pay the reparations. Thank you for joining me today for a look at history as it really was. Please do not sit for another day without doing your part for your country. Your country needs you, and you must do what's right. Being an American comes with a responsibility, and you need to take your responsibility serious, or see your freedom vanish before your eyes. If you are as concerned as I am about the events taking place in Washington today, you may want to contact somebody in the Independent Party. They are committed to the preservation of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, as written. They want you to remain a free American, just as I do. I look forward to seeing you again on our next segment of What the Heck is Going On? I am your host, Jeff LaFrance, wishing you all the best that life has to offer. Thank you.